What is renewalism? What have you done in the past?
Renewalism is a movement aimed to raise human consciousness. We're renewing consciousness through individual habits. As Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. If we change our habits, our outer world changes. And this comes from the concept that I have learned about 15 years ago and applied when I went to the Himalayas. It bears root in 2,500 years and more of wisdom. But 20 years ago, I used to run a consulting company, and that was in the space of branding. We were responsible for internal and external communications and culture building. And the missing piece that I found in building culture was consciousness. We were doing things, operating systems, working on our KPIs without an alignment of why a person is doing a certain thing and what the organization's purpose is and how these match together. This lack of purpose or the misalignment of that and the misalignment of processes with what the customer was expecting, all of that leads to stress, organizational stress. And I came upon the three aspects of people, purpose, and process. Independent of the lean management and the balanced scorecard, I came upon them as the body, mind, and spirit alignment, which each individual could have and each organization could have at people, purpose, process levels to instantly reduce organizational stress. I have, in the last 10 years, been applying the concepts that have now formed into renewalism habits across 4 continents and with extremely good results. Now the aim is to take these to homogeneous teams so that they work together with a higher consciousness, and we're able to, over a period of time, say 3 years, develop a conscious culture in an organization that literally supports the build-up of this alignment and the reduction of the stress permanently. So we're looking at organizations preparing for the 4th Industrial Revolution, working with a higher consciousness and developing products that are suitable for the planet, that sustainable, and that people are happy to work towards in producing. That's what renewalism is. That's what we've been doing with it, and that's what's poised for this decade.
What is conscious culture? How does it help organizations?
A conscious culture is something that connects people. It's operating from a level of energy, of spirit. Now you see, we are all composed of 3 levels: the body, the mind, and the spirit. We're very connected with the physicality of things, the body. A little with the mentality of things, the mind. But even less with the spirituality of things, that is the energy, that's the spirit connection. Now spirituality has nothing to do with religion. The renewalism movement is non-religious, non-sectarian, non-everything. It's a movement that taps into the universal consciousness that connects us, builds trust. And we see that happening in test groups in your own organization. We see that trust converting into teamwork, converting into ownership, people taking responsibility, higher retention rates. And that's where you start seeing how the organizations working together across generations, across departments, reverse mentoring, and building a synergy which you as a founder or as the chief executive had initially hoped for. But this is happening now organically because it's laid on people's habits. It's happening through what they think is the right thing to do, not because somebody's told them that that's the right thing to do. And that's a transformation, a behavior change that we bring about in organizations. Obviously, that would result in higher profitability. And that is why we say, Skippy is our promise. 6 months of conscious culture to increase profits predictably year on year. So that's Skippy for you. That's bringing conscious culture into better profitability through renewalism habits.
What is the role of habits when people come and go?
Habits are what drive us. We often think that habits are difficult to create or to change, but that's actually not true. It's just because of our low understanding of how habits work. Now, I can bet you that you have a habit of having a bath, and you've been having that bath ever since maybe 2 years minus your age. Now, why did that happen? I can tell you in my case, it happened because my mom said, "You're not getting breakfast till you have your bath on your own." And so I learned to have a bath on my own. When we have a deep connect of what we need subconsciously, like survival, food, and what we can do consciously, and we know how to do it, we have a habit formed. It's the subconscious that we have to connect with. And everything happens at three levels: the conscious, subconscious, and the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind can sometimes veto habit formation. And as we understand this concept, the renewalists that work with you in the Global Wisdom workforce are able to address these aspects. Not only that, there's another trinity of having information, having knowledge, and having wisdom. Do you want your people to be wise? Well, that doesn't happen unless they apply the knowledge. And knowledge doesn't happen until they experience the information. 90% of our world is obsessed with information, which is available in plenty, and we like to quote it and we like to feel intelligent. That's the intellectual paradox. But it's only when that intelligence is experienced, I mean, you have experiences going alongside what you've read or heard about, that it becomes true knowledge, which is where your leaders ought to be. But further, for the leaders to build the capacity to be able to empower others, and that's the goal of renewal, to keep empowering. That's what the movement is about. They've got to apply. So applied knowledge becomes wisdom. And that's how we create wiser organizations, through habits, through what they're doing on a day-to-day basis.
How do you execute renewalism?
So in companies, we have three modalities that we work upon at three levels of the organization. At one level is the directors and above. This is where the top management meets together at the beginning of the engagement, somewhere in the middle of the engagement. The first part of the engagement is 6 months, so let's say in a quarter, 3 months down the line, and towards the end to review what happened. This is what we call the 3P workshop. The 3P is people, purpose, and process. We identify the alignment of purpose across the organization down to individual objectives. We look at processes which are redundant. We look at processes that are customer facing. We identify gaps. And we remove processes that would be unnecessarily stressful and not serving the objective with the right bang. And then we look at people and how people are working on these aspects in alignment within themselves, their own body, mind, spirit alignment. And so the 3P workshop could be where it starts, or at the other end of the spectrum is the club, which could also be where it starts. The club is all employees, but not just all employees. We would like, not just all the junior employees, we would like all employees right down from the director level downwards, so that there is a certain seriousness that is perceived in the club. Now the club meets for just about 15 minutes across geographical zones. And in those 15 minutes, we work on certain habits. It gives a fillip in the middle of the day to everybody. And those habits start building a culture. In the middle of these two are the talks. The renewal talks are for your heads of departments, are for leaders who drive micro teams. Now these micro teams are part of their whole team. But in this team, in the test group, we're really getting the leaders to be empowered to apply the habits, to take the renewalism practices forward and show the results. So we work at three levels within the talks itself. One would be the talks for the 4-5 leaders that we have identified for our test pilot. The second would be huddles with each one of these leaders and their teams. And the third would be with the leaders one-on-one, so that we are able to navigate them as individual coaching and get them to drop their limiting beliefs and rise to higher potential. So we've got 3P workshops, we've got tailored talks and sessions, and we've got the Renewal Club. And altogether, in 6 months' time, these heads of department, the chosen leaders, are the ones who would become certified renewalists and then help us take this movement forward and scale it up across your organization.
Why do you execute renewalism online? How do you measure results?
The renewalism movement has been conceived to be executed online. A couple of reasons for this. One is that it allows us to scale up, and the movement has to scale. The movement may be starting with the global wisdom workforce, which is executing this for you, but then it's got to empower your leaders, and your leaders have to take it across to wherever your organization is. So on the one hand, when the leaders are transmitted renewal habits online, monkey see, monkey do. They know that they can transmit it further to your different operations across the world, or even in a country across different offices, without having to be physically present. If they saw the need for one of us to be physically present, that would be a bottleneck. The second is, your organization could be across multiple cultures, in multiple states of the same country or in multiple countries. And we'd like to see how creating a conscious culture cuts across existing cultures. We'd like to demonstrate that to you in the pilot itself, in the test group. So we look at different age groups, we look at different ethnicities, we look at different geographies as we bring, and of course line functions, as we bring the pilot leaders together. And this really reduces the risk for you going forward, because you know you have empirical data that, hey, this works across and it works for my organization. Now let me see how to scale this up. So we measure this, the before and the after, on either the 8 dimensions of well-being, which is a university standard, or on the resiliency program, which is a program that was developed for the US Marines to assess how they were handling burnout and stress. And it's a proven program that's on an app that can be executed around the world very easily. So both our assessments and deliveries are online, and the objective is that you're able to scale with it, you're able to go further with it, and you have the confidence that yes, my people are able to execute this and take it forward.